Too many ideas in the pot makes it too hard to stir. You can't take a bite when you have too much on your spoon. Welcome to Without a Doubt, the podcast, where we explore the transformative journey of breaking cycles and embracing our truest self. I'm Mad, a cycle breaker, a creative, and a sprinkle of reality. If they ever told you to be quiet, sit down, blend in, but you couldn't, this podcast is for you. I'm so happy you're here. As a millennial girly pop, I still own a craft box. Raise your hand if you do too. And I actually use my craft box on the weekly, all the time, and I'll never actually give up my craft box. I consider myself a creative. I'm a solution-oriented. I have always been one of those people who said I could probably do that, especially all those Pinterest and magazine-worthy crafts, those really stylish things. I actually DIY'd my home, including painting the cabinets, the backsplash, and the countertops. And I have a lot of my own art hanging from the walls, my childhood art, and eclectic made things scattered around my home. I surround myself with random decor that most others probably wouldn't have, like a paper mache elephant head, a cat telephone, and even a dark green breakfast nook. I like that grandma core with a 70s mid-century twist, some boho plant lady. I am a true Mod Podge of a human. Let's actually define a creative. This typically refers to someone who engages in activities that involve imagination or original thought, usually in the context of art, design, writing, music, or any of those fields where new ideas and innovation are key. It's a way of identifying ourselves as someone who actually produces or expresses ideas in unique or artistic ways. Being a creative can actually mean a lot of things, a lot of different things. Depends on the person, but generally it implies that we approach problems and projects with a focus of originality, innovation, and often outside of the box thinking. I recently had a friend over and she had told me my house looked very TikTok worthy. That actually made me laugh. And she told me she didn't realize how into crafts I actually was. But like, Lindsay, do you not see my IG when I'm flipping all my dumpster items into stuff for my house? I have been a crafty girly, honestly, for as long as I can remember. I actually had a great aunt who would bring over all these little crafty holiday things we could do for Thanksgiving or Christmas time, and I really did love doing those. I hand make gifts for my friends now. I always have. I did it in elementary and middle school. I do it for my family, and I really do feel that it embraces the creative that I am. There are so many different kinds of creatives, not just ones who get paid for their work. You don't have to be somebody who gets paid or monetizes their craft or creative to even be recognized. I think so many creatives don't even recognize that they themselves are true creatives. You don't have to get paid for your stuff in order for you to be creative. Like I mentioned, our creativity is used in our day-to-day and we don't even acknowledge it. You can take pictures of things you like, you can doodle, draw, paint, make floral arrangements, edit videos for your social media. You can sew. I'm actually out of things on my brain right now. I've had a long work day, but all of the things, you can do it. Just because you don't actually get paid for your crafts, for your creativity, doesn't mean you're not a creative. I mean, wouldn't it be so cool though that you could be a true artist, get paid full time for your creativity to make money? Absolutely. But what happens when you burn out as an artist and your love for that space diminishes? Because sometimes that will happen. When your creativity is being pulled from all different directions, it feels like an obligation versus a spark of creativity. This really has me thinking about a couple of things. I have a friend who is in the editing world, and for so long she was telling me she was looking for a way out and she was doing what she liked to do, but she wasn't able to be creative in her job space. She literally had hit where she wanted to be in her career, but wasn't given the creative outlet and freedom. So many of us crave the creative freedom to do things at work. You don't necessarily have to get paid, like I said, for them, but we want to be able to use the skills that we know how to use. It's really important to think about that. I did go back to work, and this does also apply to me. I call it my lazy girl job, but I'm barely lazy there. I get so much freedom at work. I'm in the event catering space, and oftentimes I get to make floral arrangements, set up these food stations, design dessert carts, and have fun with decor. It unlocks the little sparkles of work for me. It helps build more confidence, but makes work more enjoyable. As a creative, we have to be challenged with something in our creative space for us not to be bored or unhappy with the actual work. Let's bring to light some of the main issues with being a creative in this world of robots. There's a lot of struggles us creatives face, and they can vary based on whatever type of work you're doing, life you're living, but a few common challenges that a lot of us in the creative field, in the workspace or in our lives are experiencing. One is creative block. It's probably the most frustrating thing. It's a total lack of inspiration. It's the inability to produce anything that even feels good. Whether it's writer's block, designer's block, not being able to even get your hands on the materials, figure out how to do something, it feels like everything is stuck and you can't move forward. I think also we talk about self-doubt and imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is one of those things that's just floating, and creatives really face this because the value of our work. Do you think it's worth less than what it really is? Somebody could tell you it's worth more. Or you're so great and you don't even get paid for your work. What if I'm not really as talented as I think? It can be really hard sometimes to trust your own process when the results aren't even clear. Then we're going into overwhelm from too many places. This is a big one for me. Sometimes having too many ideas can be a huge struggle because you don't know where to start. It can lead to feelings of being scattered, bird-brained, overwhelmed, and trying to bring all these ideas to life, usually at once, if you're anything like me, leads to us focusing on things and picking things and just being way too tough. Too many ideas in the pot makes it too hard to stir. You can't take a bite when you have too much on your spoon. Slow it down, one thing at a time, and then that goes right into perfectionism. Wanting everything to be perfect is so paralyzing. It can make it so hard to finish your projects because you're going to keep tweaking things, trying to make them flawless, perfect. Reminder, Barbie is not even perfect. She is missing some parts. This will ultimately delay or prevent you from even getting ready to start the project. Just starting the project. And I have to go back into my podcast example. This podcast is 72 episodes in, yay me, but there's so much tweaking that I can do, need to do, will do. If I never would have just started with, hey, it's me, and this is what you're going to get on this podcast and what I wanted to bring, this would never be here. If I would have waited for the perfect intro song, the perfect written out intro, the perfect topic, I don't think I would have 72 episodes. It's normal being a creative and having that hard obstacle of getting started. It's the biggest log in your way. It is the one thing that will jam up your river, and that is the one thing that will leave your riverbed dry. If you move the log to start, I promise you that river will flow. Just start and go and grow. Then we have these external pressures from our families, friends, social media. It literally will kill your creativity. Feeling the need to please others or follow the trends or stifle your own personal style will lead you to burnout. That is one, by the way. The social media likes is one of the things that really makes me think about this. The validation from our outside people. Especially if you do social media content creation, maybe that's your form of creativity. You post because you like to, and your videos don't perform. That is really one of those expectation things that will lead to burnout. You're constantly doing things for other people to get the likes. You're not going to enjoy your social media. I posted a video a while back about how I was going through a bunch of my videos and how much I really enjoyed just seeing what I had done in the prior months and the little recaps and the funny little thoughts and videos I put together. It is my digital diary. And ultimately, what you put out should really be for you. You should love what you're doing. That is the way I put my creativity out on social. That is just one of the creative ways I do things. This podcast is one. I like to make my little videos on junk journaling. I like to make videos on my day, point of view videos, tortoise videos. If you follow me, you know. Talking about balancing your creativity with practicality, oh my goodness. Creativity is always going to be driven by your passions, but it's also, there's going to be the practical side of things like work, bills, budgets, managing your time, life. All of that will get in the way. Finding the balance between actually creating freely and being versus having to do the things in your life, it just might not happen. I get it. I want to craft, but I got to go to work. And then when I get home and I'm tired, I don't want to do it. We all need the time. I also want to go back into this because this goes with the expectations of others, but fear of judgment. Putting your work out there opens so many doors to criticism, judgment. For us creatives, that fear of judgment will be and can be crippling, whether it's constructive or negative. It can be a huge barrier. I mean, for so many of us, we do hesitate to start doing things because we're worried about how people will perceive us. I have had a handful of businesses, a cotton candy cart, which I really loved, but was tiring to do. That sugar burned me out. I sold shampoo and that burned me out, and I did it for a lot of the wrong reasons. I'm constantly thinking about ways to build businesses around all these creative ideas that I have, and I think for some reason I'm the kind of person that's like, let me just do it. What's the worst? What if that blows up? That is always my thought process. It's never like, what if I fail? Having that fear of judgment from everybody thinking like, wow, that business didn't succeed. Wow, she's not as successful. What is success to you? For me, success is doing and being and living my life on my terms. So I think it's important to remember, whose judgment are we fearing? It's your life. Do the things you want. I also truly believe that consistency is key, and it's always hard to find within creativity. It's not always a constant flow, and keeping up with the consistent creative routines can truly be a struggle. Some days you might feel really productive and want to do all the creativity things, and then sometimes you're going to feel like you're never able to even do anything creative. The spark is totally gone. For me, that's usually when I'm feeling a financial strain being creative, when I am not making money, when I don't have money for crafts, because let's be real, it does cost money. I think also when you start thinking about monetizing your creative, it can really come with a lot of uncertainty with your finances. If you're freelancing, selling your work, working in some sort of artistic niche field, income can be unpredictable. And maybe struggling with balancing the creative passion and the need to make a living, it's tough. Picking that artist life is one of those struggles that a lot of people might not even understand, because that fear of judgment that everybody else has, they put onto everybody else. External factors really weigh heavy on these artistic people, and I know it because when I jumped out of my really stable job, I remember people saying, well, how are you going to make money? And I'm like, I will figure it out. I'm a creative. I'm a freelancer. And however way, I will do it. So I think that's a reminder. The creatives get creative with how we make our money. That does leave us with a lot of financial strain at times. I do know I wiped out my savings in order to live my life the way that I wanted to. And then times I felt, moving into the next one, lonely. Like nobody knew or understood. This podcast feels lonely. I don't really have any other podcaster friends, so I am looking. But it's lonely. Like, I only have a few people. It's isolating that I can talk to about this. Collaboration can be great, but there's times where I do feel like I have to work alone. I do have my creative focus on this podcast, and that does lead to loneliness and isolation. I think that's important to talk about too, with all different kinds of creative journeys, not just ones that we're monetizing. Sometimes when you're really interested in doing a creative project, like even DIYing your home, people might not see your vision. They might not see what you want. And they're going to say, no, that won't look good. But that's not their style. It's not their kitchen. It's not their vision. For me, I'm always the girl that has been like, this is what I see and this is what I want and this is how I'm going to do it. I will figure it out. I'm a figure it out girly. I'm one of those. I'm a craft box girly. I'm solution focused, creative, you know? Hello. This is for the creatives out there. I know the creative burnout is real. I know that it happens when we're feeling like we're pushing ourselves too hard. When we're trying to do all of the things, do all the crafts we want to do, constantly produce, because it does revitalize us. It does lead to exhaustion though, and lack of motivation and total loss of enthusiasm for creating. I know, and I've been here for so many of these struggles, the loneliness, the burnout, the consistency, literally all of these. But being the creative girly I am, I know that all of these lulls in the creativity are bound to happen. It's usually in the times that we are most busy, most distracted with our life. And I usually will say, okay, I'll do that project when I have some time. I'll craft when I don't have a million things to do. But it's art therapy, and it is how us creatives recharge. Crafting is what keeps me connected to my little spark of originality and a way to work my imagination. Speaking of this right now, I am totally thinking that I need to work on I have this window pane I bought at a garage sale, and I just want to paint on it. And I've been wanting to do it for months and months, and I just haven't done it because I'm busy. But it's on my list of crafty things. So I just want to remind you, you're not alone. I'm here. I've got my list of creative things to do. But if you're feeling like you don't have time, I want to share one of my favorite tips that I have done, and I think that this has been what you would consider art therapy. And I picked one night a week that I try to craft. It's really a junk journaling night, and it's usually Sunday nights. It's the one night a week that I sit down, I junk journal, and I combine my gratitude journal. It's like a 2-for-1, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, but it also allows me to pick up and collect stuff that I like to do throughout the week. I'm like a little bird collecting things for my junk journal. And then I can put it to use in my journal. It's like a little way to scrapbook. If you're not sure what junk journaling is, by the way, I guess I will tag a video in the notes. But anywho, get off and get creative. You are without a doubt one bad bitch. I will see you next week on Wednesday. I'm still actually looking for guests to join this show. I do have a few guests coming up, and I'm really excited for those, speaking on domestic violence and being authentic in your 50s. Those are 2 guests coming up this year, next month. I'm really excited. If you have any ideas, you can always shoot them over to me if you want to be a guest at itsyourgirlmad@gmail.com. Let me know what you want to talk about. It's got to be something about you and being authentic. See you next week. Bye. Hey, and by the way, if you love this podcast, let me remind you that you sharing this is one of the greatest ways to help my podcast just grow. If you don't already follow this, hit the follow button. Give it a rating. Do something with this that can help this go from where I am now to somewhere greater. You have the ability to help me be a bigger podcaster. I love you for being here, and you can always find me on YouTube, Instagram, or anywhere you listen to your podcasts. See you around, and catch you next time. Bye.